Jayadvaita. Thank you all for coming. Today we'll speak something from Prabhupada Kirtan Standards book, which I hope will be in the hand of every devotee here after not much time. I told the story the other day about the cat in the basket. There's another story about Sargal Singh. Prabhupada told this story, that there was a man who came to the village and he shaved his head and he was crying. And the grocer asked him, what happened? He said, Sargal Singh is dead. He said he was my best friend, he was so noble, he was always trying to serve, and now he's dead. And men was lamenting the loss of Sargal Singh. And the grocer was so affected that he shaved his head, and he also began crying about the death of the noble Sargal Singh. And then it went from Krishna in the whole village, and we were all lamenting. And then it was the mayor, and then it was the governor. And then finally it went up, and then some intelligent person said, who's Sargal Singh? And nobody knew. So they went back down, finally down to the original person, who turned out to be a washerman. And it turned out that Sargal Singh was the washerman's ass. So the whole countryside was lamenting over the death of Sargal Singh. So in this way, so many things get introduced into Kirtan, and no one asks, well, where did this come from? Where did that come from? It's there, and it's always been there. It's the cat in the basket. It's Sargal Singh. So there's a lot in Kirtan these days that was not in Kirtan in Prabhupada's time, or was not introduced by Srila Prabhupada. So it's just come in. New mantras, new requirements, new things that you're supposed to do, and they're not, have nothing to do with Prabhupada. Or things we like to do, again, they have nothing to do with Prabhupada. Prabhupada's Kirtan was actually quite simple. The emphasis was on the purity of the holy name, or what's the word? Pleading with Krishna to be engaged in his service. It wasn't for enchanting the public with some kind of professional performance. It was sincere chanting, as Prabhupada himself did. There's a lot of stuff that's entered Kirtan since then, and much of it gets spotlighted in the book, along with things that he wanted us to do, which sometimes we may not be aware of or give enough attention to. I should say that nothing in the book is intended to criticize any one particular person. All of my best friends, all of my favorite Kirtan leaders, practically all the devotees I respect, they all do one or another of the things that come in for criticism in the book. So it's not meant to disparage anyone or indicate that anyone's of less importance or value or fidelity, but it's to inform. So there's a lot of surprises in the book, things that we think that we were always taught. Well, this is an example that usually wins. Who was taught that before each round we should chant the Panchatattva mantra? 1, 2, 3. Come on, fess up. Okay, roughly 40%. Prabhupada never gave us that instruction. Never did. Start on one side. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. Go to the end. and don't cross over the head bead, turn around and go back. That was it. So many initiations must have on others that have, bad being transcript. Nothing about chanting Panchatattva mantra. Someone brought it up. It's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita before chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. We should chant Panchatattva mantra. When asked about it, Prabhupada said, yes, but that is Kirtan and this is Japa. So it was an instruction for Kirtan, not an instruction for Japa. And yet, 44 out of 10 of us are taught that that's what we should do. You can. There's no objection. You can chant Panchatattva mantra anytime, any place. But it's not something Prabhupada taught us we should do between each 2 rounds. Any questions about that? Yes?
I was also taught that you gotta start from the small B and then work your way to the big one.
You should start with the small B's and work up to the big one.
Yeah.
I start with the big one and go to the small one. But I never received an instruction either way from Prabhupada. And first of all, these hardware store beads, there were no bigger or smaller, we were all the same size. I find it helpful at least to know whether I'm even or odd by knowing where I started. But I don't know if there's any rule on which side you should start on. I never heard anything from Prabhupada about it. Maybe there's something somewhere, I don't know. Anything else? Yes?
So we should ideally chant the Panchatattva mantra just for the
Loud.
So we should ideally chant the Panchatattva mantra just once when we were starting our chanting.
I haven't heard anything from Prabhupada about it at all. He never said that before we start our japa we should chant Panchatattva mantra, or between each beads, or after 8 beads, or anything. He never said anything about it. Many of us chant some prayers before we begin our japa. We may chant Panchatattva, but there's no rule that I know of. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, what about the Prabhupada Pranam Mantra or your Guru's Pranam Mantra?
What about it?
Like, do you chant that? I've seen a lot of people, they chant that before
Excuse
starting.
me?
I see a lot of people chanting the Prabhupada Pranam Mantra before starting their rounds, like before each round. So is that
They
also?
can do, but it's not something Prabhupada told us to do. If you want to, I don't know any rule that says you can, but I don't know any rule that says you should. Okay? There's no rule in the matter. It's not that Prabhupada says, so before you begin this chanting, you must do this, you must do. No. Main emphasis, you should try to avoid 10 pieces. That is said hundreds of times.
Maharaj, one more thing. Once we complete the round, we have to go back on the reverse side, not continue.
Correct. Yeah, don't cross over the head bead and keep going. Reach one side and go around the other way. Each time you go from one side to the next, that's what happens. Is that okay? Okay. Let's see. The main thing, one thing is we should chant something bona fide. Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishpala amata. If the mantra that we're chanting has not been received through the parampara system, it will be nishpala, which means useless. It will have no potency. That means that we should chant the bona fide mantras received through the acharyas, through our disciplic succession. Not things we heard in Vrindavan, not things that we hear on the internet, not things that come from some other sampradaya, not this and that and the other thing, but what we received from the acharyas. And there's a lot of stuff I hear in ISKCON that doesn't come that way. Let's see. Give some examples. There's a chart at the end of the book of things that Prabhupada approved, things he didn't say anything about, things he disapproved. hear in these kinds sometimes, Govinda Bolo Hari Gopala Bolo. Who's heard that? Okay. It's what's called a filmy bhajan. It has no relationship with our sampradaya whatsoever, and therefore it's nishpala, useless. Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol, Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Who's heard that? Just about everyone? Nishpala. It's another filmy bhajan. Radharani ki jai Maharani. Who's heard that one? Traditional Brijvasi folk song, not Sampradayic mantra. Radhe Radhe Shami Lade. Who's heard that? Again, total nonsense. It's a concoction. My dear Radharani, please introduce me to your Sham. That's all concoction. Whoever heard it from Prabhupada? Anyone? Zero. Everyone's heard it, no one's heard it from Prabhupada. So, how did it get into this now? Just permeates the walls, you know. We shouldn't chant that which we've not received from the Sampradaya. Or to put it another way, we should chant what we have heard from the Sampradaya. Prabhupada said we should always remember that Hare Krishna is the main authorized mantra. In our temples, strictly Hare Krishna mantra should be given prominence. That was Prabhupada's policy. Hare Krishna movement, we should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. That's what Prabhupada wanted. Hare Krishna and more Hare Krishna. And then there's some other, he approved, of course, Panchatattva Mahamantra. These two things, actually, Panchatattva Mahamantra and Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then he wrote in one purport that that we're already accustomed to chanting these two mantras, and additionally we can add these two lines. Haraye Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Gopal Govindaram Srila Usuda. These were chanted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after he took sannyas. Prabhupada said these two lines can be added. How many lines? Two. Who's heard, and how often do we hear in the Mangalarti or here and there? Haraye Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopal Govindaram Sriman Usuda Yidi Hari Gopinath Madhanamah. Who hears this in Mangalarti? Okay. And why is it chanted in Mangalarti? There's hundreds of bhajans. Why that one? How many lines is it? 4 lines. So Prabhupada said 2 lines can be added, so 2 lines becomes 4 lines. Because people haven't read the purport, but they just heard that you're supposed to chant Haraye Namah Krishna Yadavaya, and then they know the song, and so they chant those 4 lines, or sometimes 8 lines, so 12 because we add the next verses. But none of that is anything that Prabhupada asked for. He asked for Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, and then he said these 2 lines can be added. Simple thing. But then when you add like 8 lines, or 10 lines more, you're, apart from what you're adding, you're also subtracting. It's also that much less time for Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. We can chant anything. So you could chant Govinda, 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 Gopala, 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 Gopala. Which reminds me, who's heard Devaki Nandan, Gopala, Gopala, Devaki Nandan, Gopala. It's not as popular as it once was, but it's also not introduced by Prabhupada, and not approved by Prabhupada. Disapproved, in fact. So the idea is we shouldn't speculate, we shouldn't concoct, we shouldn't import, we shouldn't chant things that we don't know the origin of. Just that I heard it in the temple doesn't make it bona fide. That I heard it in Mayapur or Vrindavan certainly doesn't make it bona fide. You can hear everything in Mayapur or Vrindavan. You should chant what the acharyas have given us. Any question? Yes.
I'm gonna get killed for this. How about Prabhupada's mantra? Prabhupada's pranam mantra.
That's certainly bona fide.
During
Yeah. You can chant or not chant. If you don't, then according to his tradition, you'll be a pariah. But Prabhupada didn't. When he led the Kirtan, of course, sometimes in the evening he would chant all the Mangalacharya, the whole thing. Vandeham, Shri Guru, all the way up. But otherwise, he chanted Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna. He told Harikesh Prabhu, well, it's a very instructive. Harikesh Prabhu, when he was a GBC man, wrote an article at the request of the other GBC members about instructions that he received from Srila Prabhupada when he was temple president of Vrindavan at the very beginning. And Prabhupada wanted to set the standards. So Prabhupada said, Mangalarti, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, the Guru song, Samsara Dava, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, nothing else. And for the evening arti, the Gaur arti song, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, nothing else. Those were the instructions that he gave. So if you do that, you're not wrong. But if you chant Prabhupada's mantra, you're also not sinning. You're not wrong. But one thing is, we see that people start the Mangalarti with Prabhupada's mantra, offering obeisances to Prabhupada, and they chant Samsara Dhamma. Whose disciple are they? Maybe Devamrita Maharaj or Gopal Krishna Maharaj or Mahavishnu Maharaj or somebody. But they begin the Mangalarti by chanting the mantra of their Guru's Guru. And what happened to their Guru? Interesting question, isn't it? So my recommendation would be, if you're going to chant Prabhupada's mantra, chant after the Guru Vaishnava, not before. You'll see the discussion in the book. Yes?
deity names.
Deity names. Well,
And
okay.
also Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev was directly disapproved by Srila Prabhupada. He said, who is this Gurudev? The Gurudev is in person. And he told it to Brahman and asked him. And he told it to other devotees also. As far as deity names, well, we've got a whole section on deity names. There were no deity. First of all, Prabhupada didn't introduce deity name mantras. Never. You won't hear Prabhupada chanting Jayadvaita something something anywhere. There are no recordings of it. He didn't do it. He didn't teach anyone else to do it. And no one did it until Kirtaniyas wrote the Vaishnava songbook, which Prabhupada approved. And included in that is one song in which, what is it called? Radha Krishna Giti, I think it's called, in which there's glorification, Radha Damodar, Radha Damodar, Jiva Goshami, Pranamahe, and so on. It goes for about 10 verses like that. And it's a bona fide song, and Prabhupada approved, but it's not something he asked us to do. Anyway, from there, devotees started picking up the idea that they could do their temple deity. And one of my godbrothers, Jayadvaita Das, who was temple president of Soho in England, asked Prabhupada in a letter, could we chant Jayadvaita Mandanisha? Prabhupada Prantanare Prantanare. Prabhupada Prantanare. Prabhupada said, yes, you have my permission. So you can. But must you? No. There's no requirement. It's not something Prabhupada introduced. It's not a standard that came from Prabhupada. It's not a must. It doesn't signify that you have more devotion to the deities than Prabhupada did or anyone else. It just has become and is come custom. But Gaudiya they don't do it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur didn't do it. Prabhupada didn't do it. He didn't teach it to us. But you can. But you don't have to. Instead, if you like, you can just do what Prabhupada did, which is just chant Hare Krishna. I find it very irksome sometimes that the Mangalarti begins with Jai Didi Didi, and then there's Gurvastikam, then Jai Didi Didi, and then there's Panchatattva mantra, and then maybe there too, Didi Didi. At the end, of course, Didi Didi. And the Hare Krishna time is shrinking. But Prabhupada didn't ask us to do it. And it sometimes leads to real absurdities, by the way. Because one thing starts and then someone adds more and adds more. I'll give you some samples. Also after Tulsi Puja, Jaya Didi Didi, every chance you get. Before Mangalarti. And I've reproduced here a sort of a strong Bhagavatam comment from one of my godbrothers here. We're personists, we have to chant the names of the deity. Prabhupada didn't. But then you get real concoctions, like in the Middle East, we have a temple of Radha Krishna. So the devotees know you're supposed to chant, in this formula, Jaya Radha, something, something. So they chant Radha, Radha Krishna, Radha, Radha Krishna. Oh. Yeah. Sometimes, people don't know the name of the deity they're visiting, so they sort of what's the name of the deity? Someone did that in Los Angeles one time, very respectable sannyasi, in fact, leading Kirtan, and began chanting Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish, Radha Rukmini Dwarkadish, which is Panka Rasavas. Yes. Rukmini has Prabhupada's. They asked, in fact, when they asked Prabhupada in Los Angeles after installing the deity, what the name of the deity should be, Prabhupada said, you can call him Dwarkadish, because it was already in Dwarka. Call him Dwarkadish. And they asked, Radha Dwarkadish? And Prabhupada got this long face. He said, Radharani has no scope for Dwarkadish. Radharani has no scope for Dwarkadish. So, Radha, Rukmini Dwarkadish. I've heard this in South Africa. Radha Jagannatha Radha Ladu Gopal. Scout song, I've heard one. And then someplace you hear that you're supposed to chant all the names, you should chant everyone on your altar so you get Jaya Shala Rama, Jaya Shala. On it goes. Jaya Sudarshana. These are all mental concoctions, but they somehow become part of this kind of kirtan. Including, and this is the big one, introduced in Mayapur. What's the Pancha Tattva mantra? Yes, that's the old Pancha Tattva mantra. What's the new Pancha Tattva mantra? Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya. You know? Da 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 da. It doesn't matter what you're chanting as long as it fits the formula. It's good. But Prabhupada said we should chant all 5 names of the Panchatattva. Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu, Nityananda, Shri Jayadvaita, Srila, Hare, Rama. That's the old Panchatattva mantra. The new one has no names. Jaya Panchatattva, because we chant Jaya for the deities, right? Jaya da 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 da, Jaya. So once we install Panchatattva, what are you going to do? Jaya Panchatattva. It's just mental concoction. Any questions? Yes?
So in festival time, like Krishna Janmashtami, so like some of us will sing Navziki Priya, Krishna Kanaya. Is that also free?
Yeah, Krishna Kanaya Lal. That's from the Gujarati side, mainly. Once a year, Hare Krishna. Probably easier to let it go than to make an issue of it. But it's not something Prabhupada has to do. Yes?
After the end of the Aarti, I've seen like a lot of times people do Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Goran, Jaya Goran. So do we like mention at the end of the Aarti, do we mention all the deities? Or we just
What Prabhupada, here's how Prabhupada ended his kirtans, whether it's Aarti or whatever. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupada Prabhupada. That was it. No deity names, no try this, no try that. That's what we did. Yes.
And what's the like the Hari Bol?
Hari Bol. Prabhupada, yes, we chanted Hari Bol in Prabhupada's time. But Prabhupada didn't like on and on with Hari Bol. He stopped Lokanath Maharaj and his party one time because they were chanting on and on. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Chant Hare Krishna. There's, by the way, a good index to the book, and my favorite entries is under K. Kirtans stopped by Srila Prabhupada because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14 entries. All different documented instances where Prabhupada stopped the Kirtan for one reason or another, one of them being on and on, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. But yes, you can chant Hari Bol.
What's the like you rain and some
Love, love, love.
So when anybody read like the if I say Hare Krishna, they say Hari Bol. Is that okay? So when anybody read like Hari Bol.
Yeah, that's Prabhupada would do that also. Sometimes Hari Bol. But he said it was a shortcut for Hare Krishna. So, yeah.
Maharaj, sometimes before the Aarti, some devotees sing some Vaishnav bhajan.
Very good.
That's all right.
Yeah, Vaishnava bhajans means, but there's Vaishnava and there's Vaishnava Gaudiya, Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. Otherwise, there's traditional Vaishnava bhajans that no one knows the source of. But Prabhupada especially said Narottam Das Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and Prabhupada's bhajans. These the 2 songs, prayers that he wrote on Jayadvaita. You know, we're eager to sing some Rasik bhajans with Prabhupada. Those 2 are very important. If we learn those 2 songs, that would be very good. But yes, all the devotees can sing the authorized songs by the acharyas. That's very nice. Yes?
I just want to start the Panchatattva mantra when they sing 3 times. Is it necessary to sing it 3 times before the Aarti?
3, 4, nominal up because you chanted 4. But not on and on. That was the idea of Prabhupada. One time he said only 3 times. I don't know that it's like exactly 3, but that's the idea. Not that we go on and on. Main thing is Hare Krishna. One time Prabhupada said, I heard that we could take 5 chickpeas in the morning. And that was it. Like, from then on you couldn't get 6.
Maharaj, sometimes during the Aarti I've seen also it goes from Hare Krishna to Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopal.
Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Prabhupada liked very much and said go on chanting Hare Krishna and Govinda Jaya. So that's perfectly fine. Yes.
Alright, did Srila Prabhupada say anything about Hare Rama versus Hare Rama?
Not really. Hindi is a vowel drop language, so comes Krishna, Ram, and so on. So you can expect Hindi speakers to drop the A's all over the place. And it's not, it's okay. Like the Chinese, you can expect them to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And the Spanish, you can expect them to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So these are regional, and the Odias you can, what is it? What was it again? Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. From Orissa, their vocabulary becomes like a U, Hare Krishna. These are regional pronunciations, they don't matter much. Krishna is called Bhavagrahi, Bhavagrahi Janaya, the personality of Godhead who accepts your feeling. So he's not looking for super excellent Sanskrit pronunciation, but your feeling, he knows, the mother knows who the child's calling for, even if the language is indistinct. He didn't, however, like to see devotees copying the Bengalis. Bengalis, again, regional pronunciation, Harinamo, Harinamo, Namo, Namo. And Prabhupada, when Western devotees were imitating this, Prabhupada said, who is this Rama? He said, it's Rama. And that's how Prabhupada chanted, although he was Bengali. It's a Sanskrit mantra, and Prabhupada chanted Harinamo. Yes.
In Kirtans a lot where you hear
Loud, loud, loud.
in Kirtans a lot where you hear Rama, is that one fact?
She's saying in Kirtans you hear Rama, is that bonafide?
If you're hearing Ramo, if the Bengalis are chanting Ramo, it's bona fide. And they don't hear it as Ramo, they hear it as Rama, so for them to do it is bona fide, for us to do it is not. One time in Vishnu, John Swami, who was a wonderful kirtan, was leading kirtan like that, was just chanting like that, probably, saying you were ruining our whole movement. It's wrong. Something else?
Sometimes during the Kirtan, when the mridangas and all the instruments are very, very, very loud.
Instruments are very, very loud. There's 2 considerations here. One is Prabhupada said, the drum should not be louder than the voice. The most important thing is the mantra, not the instruments. So Prabhupada instructed one time in Bhaktivedanta Man, the drum should not be louder than the voice. That's the first thing. Second thing is, and this is just my personal opinion, you don't really need to amplify the drums. The drums are made to be loud. So then, when we start to amp up the drums, then we have to amp up the voice, and we have to amp up everything, and then everything's amped up. So the first consideration is the drum should not be louder than the voice. The second is very loud sound can cause permanent, irretrievable hearing loss. Very loud sound can cause permanent, irretrievable hearing loss, which is insidious, which means it comes on very slowly and you don't notice it. And by the time you start noticing it, it's too late. If you'd like to read more about this, there's an article on my website, jswami.info, about noise-induced hearing loss, which is probably worth reviewing if you're in an environment where you hear a lot of loud sound. Back in the day when I tested the matter with a professional sound level meter, we found that our typical ISKCON Kirtan is about on the level of your usual rock concert, which is loud enough to cause permanent hearing loss. All the branches of the U.S. military, and I assume the Australian military, also have hearing protection programs which involve monitoring the hearing of their personnel and providing protective equipment to prevent hearing loss. The GBC some years ago passed some resolution about the level that there should be, and anyway, it's a resolution no one knows about, no one cares about, no one follows up on, and will have no useful function. But if you want to do something as a group for your temple, or individually for yourself, or for your children, then first thing you do is hearing tests. You can go for professional hearing tests. I think the people who sell hearing aids give free hearing tests. These days you can get an app, whether you're on Android or on Mac. You can download an app which is not professional, but pretty much tells you the story. And then you keep track, okay, this January 1st, 2025, it was this. And you come back January 2026 and see what it is. And you'll get a pretty good idea. And if it starts to, the graph starts going like this, you know that you've got a problem that you should do something about. So that's one thing you can do. You can monitor your own hearing, and the hearing of your children, and in that way know about it, because the hearing test will tell you today, and your own general perception will tell you 3 years from now when it's too late. So you want to catch it. So hearing tests, you can do them for the whole temple if you like, make it a temple standard. That's a good health measure that doesn't cost you anything. Just make it a rule. A new person joins the ashram, he gets a hearing test. Every year everyone gets a hearing test, and probably we can't reduce our volume, although anyway, it's hard to reduce the volume, but what you can do is you can acquire personal hearing protectors, which means earplugs. These are mine. The typical ones you see are the little foam ones. Sorry for taking up all this time, but it's probably maybe useful. Typical ones you see are little foam ones that you squish and put in your ear. These are called Etimotic. That's the brand name, ETYMOTIC. They cost about $15 in America. And they're designed to reduce the volume without blocking the sound. The little squishy ones block the sound, and so you feel like you're underwater. These reduce the sound, so you feel like you're hearing the kirtan, but it sounds 15 decibels less, because it is 15 decibels less. I think whatever the number is, 12, 15. That many fewer decibels are hitting your ear, and you're probably in the safe zone. So American Express credit card company used to have a slogan, "Don't leave home without it." That's my slogan about my earplugs. So that's my recommended strategy. If you're concerned about your hearing or you're already having problems with your hearing, invest $15 in these little hearing protectors. And these ones last till you lose them. The other thing you can do, the other available option is known as flight. That is when the volume goes up too high, flee. Which is what I do when I don't have my earplugs and the volume gets up to stratospheric. I just leave. Your other option is just stay there and go with it. Keep your fingers crossed. Does that answer all of your questions? If you'd like to know more about this, read the article on my website. If you want to read still more, go to places on the internet and they'll tell you more about it. But the conclusion is that once you lose it, it's gone. And since our process depends on hearing, you may not want to lose it. Big rock amplifiers. Hare Krishna. Yes?
Nowadays, the modern society is lacking a little bit more musical. They get attracted to different modulation of music of when we go and do Harinam. And they need a bit more modern kind of instruments.
When we do Harinam, people need modern...
Like the young generation, they need...
Young generation needs... Who says so?
They may not be much attracted to the traditional kind of...
Why? Why not? Who told you
Because
that?
I think
What makes you think so?
these days the kids need more sort of modern music.
Who says so?
Induced. Not I. No. But
I don't
noticed
I don't believe it. That these days, the kids won't be attracted if you just have kartals and mridanga and simple chanting Hare Krishna, unless you have, tubas and chambes and glockenspiels. They will come. Why? Prabhupada was chanting in the park with kartals and a little bongo drum, and it's attracted people from all over the world. And young people. People Prabhupada attracted were, 18, 19, 20, 21. The world has changed so much that now, if you're, under 25, you won't join unless it's got guitars and synthesizers and bassoons. Why? I don't believe it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, kartal. It's not the music that attracts. It's the purity of the whole name. The soul doesn't care about the music. It's the purity of the whole name. And anyway, Prabhupada said, the principle of chanting is to glorify the Lord and not to attract a crowd. If Krishna hears nicely, then he will ask some sincere devotees to gather in such a place. The devotee once asked Prabhupada, when we're out on Sankirtan chanting, what would be the best way to engage the crowd to become participants in the chant with us? And Prabhupada said, best way, you go on chanting. Your business is not to satisfy the crowd. Your business is to satisfy Krishna, and then the crowd will be automatically satisfied. by your chanting, some public is satisfied? No, we're not concerned with that. He may be satisfied or not satisfied. But if I chant in the proper way, then my predecessors, the acharyas, will be satisfied. That is my business. Finished. If I don't invent in my own way. Prabhupada sometimes allowed the use of other instruments, but it's not that we think that the instruments is what's going to do it. No. The holy name of Krishna, chanted sincerely by pure devotees. Yes, for the question? Prema Dhwani?
At the end, they say Priya Mridanga ki jai.
Yeah, you can bang Mridanga during Prema Dhwani if you would. It's okay. Yes.
Thank you, Kumar. Recently there's been a trend of where we have Kirtan in yoga studios and so forth, and they started to introduce a bunch of other mantras trying to deal with the public.
Well, I don't want to one thing I should say is I don't want to second guess the troops on the ground and the leaders on the ground, and sit behind the desk and say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. They're the ones who are out in the field, going out and preaching, and they're in yoga studios, they're this place, that place. So I don't want to criticize them and say, they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that. Because they're the ones who are trying to do something. And I don't want to criticize them. That said, when we go out, we're representing Srila Prabhupada. We're representing the Sampradaya Acharyas. So it's fitting for us to chant what we've been taught, to deliver the message that we've been given. I don't know why we need to chant Om Namo Shivaya or other mantras that are not our business. Maybe someone might have told me that, or maybe there's some reasons or something for that, this or that, but it's not a practice I would recommend. Let me say that. We're representing Prabhupada as he represented his Guru Maharaj. He didn't think that he needed to introduce something new to attract us, and I don't think we need to introduce something new to attract the next person. As Prabhupada said, our business is not to attract, it's to please our acharyas. So if we're representing him, then we should be on message, as they say. Yes.
Extending on that question, you go to yoga studios or represent yourself, you have Kirtan, and then you just finish up, you don't speak.
Well, again, I can't, for me not to be there, but then to sit here and tell you they did it wrong is not so polite, or perhaps it might even be unwise or hasty. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the main thing was chanting, and philosophy was reserved for a few close associates. But and you may not, give a whole hour-long lecture about the ins and outs of the philosophy. But I've seen that our capable kirtan leaders can and do speak something for the benefit of the audience. Those of you who've heard Gauravani, sometimes one of the well-known kirtan leaders, younger fellow, by my standard. And he's very expert at speaking. He just speaks in such a way that it goes down like applesauce, just everybody nods their head and says, yeah, and he can say, this is what it is. But he packages it so nicely, he's a very good communicator, that people just nod their heads and go, yeah. And so much of what our message is, if you just say it as it is and say it nicely, people will nod their heads and say it. what's the harm? It's a transcendental sound vibration. That's what Prabhupada said. It springs directly from the spiritual platform. Is that going to hurt people? Are they going to turn off because you said that? There's so many things that we can say that may not, what's the word, upset people or turn them off, but which will enlighten people. So there's something in the art to speaking, but say something qualified. Maybe short, maybe long. Why not? Prabhupada didn't give long speeches at Tompkins Square Park. It was mostly chanting. But he did speak. It's an opportunity. And there are people who are looking for, philosophy, for explanations, for something that has meaning to it. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Question is regarding, when we have a abhishek of the deities going on, do we chant Hare Krishna mantra, or is it okay to chant Vaishnava bhajans also?
You can chant Vaishnava bhajans, you can chant Hare Krishna mantra. Main thing, as Prabhupada said, our main thing is Hare Krishna mantra, especially when the public is there. They all know Hare Krishna mantra. If you chant some bhajan, they may not know what you're chanting, and so you're left out. In Hare Krishna mantra, you chant simply, and Prabhupada said it should be sweet and melodious, not clanging and banging. Sweet and melodious. Sweet and melodious Hare Krishna Kirtan, everyone can join in. Your Vaishnava bhajans are very good, but people may not be able to. When we're among the devotees, then it's more congenial. Or if you're explaining, that's one way of preaching. You chant the bhajan and then explain. Verse by verse you can explain. And it's a very nice way of enlightening people. Yes?
Another question is, when the devotees, they greet when they are in front of each other, they still say Danvats Pranam. So is it like Danvats Pranam and performing the Danvats is?
Yeah, it's sort of, it's okay. But it's not that we greet our Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Even devotees, sometimes they greet Prabhupada this way. And Prabhupada said, what is this chopping? While I'm at it, since it came to my attention, Prabhupada instructed, when he gave that instructions to Harikesh, he disapproved of chanting Jayadvaita. Prabhupada was instructing how he wanted the Kirtan. The next morning I led the Kirtan in his room, duplicating the melodious style which he had shown me the day before. Prabhupada was pleased and seemed to enjoy the Kirtan. Unfortunately, I fell victim to that demon within the mind and started to speculate a couple of Jayadvaitas at the end of Kirtan. This was one of the bigger mistakes made by me at that time. Although there's nothing wrong with Jayadvaita, Prabhupada simply didn't want us to chant it. He once explained, that Shukadeva Goswami did not feel himself qualified to chant the name of Radha in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and therefore only indicated her name with the word Aradhana while describing the topmost gopi friend of Krishna. Anyway, to continue the story, I had just started to chant Srimati Radharani's holy name within Vrindavan Dham, her beloved Lord's abode, within the presence of her most intimate devotee, during the most auspicious hours of the day, when her most intimate devotee looked at me with eyes blazing like fire and desirous of initiating my immediate destruction. Voice choked and gagging, I ended the kirtan immediately without further formalities, never again to make the same mistake. Prabhupada never ended kirtans with various extra mantras, especially not Jai Radhe, so why should I? Badri Narayan Maharaj says, he told us, don't do it. He was adamant about it. It's not such a cheap thing. Such a valuable thing you keep guarded. You don't flaunt cheaply. But Haridas comments, he gave us Radharani's name to chant 8 times while chanting the Maha Mantra. It's not like he didn't want us to chant Radharani's name and take shelter of her. We're spending 2 hours a day expressly taking shelter of her. But there was a way. It's respectful. It's appropriate for our level. He was very, very cautious that this is the name of Radharani, the most sacred thing in the universe, even more sacred than Krishna's name. Don't just take it cheaply. Maybe there are people who are qualified to chant her name. I couldn't say. I'm not. Any questions about that? Yes.
So at the end, sometimes when Kirtan ends, everybody says,
What?
at the end of a Kirtan, sometimes when people end, they say, Jai Jai Shri Hare.
No, Prabhupada didn't. I don't want to criticize, but Prabhupada didn't. It's sort of a traditional thing in Vrindavan, but it's not something Prabhupada taught us to do.
What about on Radha Ashtami? Then is it allowed to say Radhe?
On Radhastami, Prabhupada gave us the perfect mantra to chant. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes.
When I hear Jayadvaita or Guru, I just walk out. Is it offensive?
Well, I won't stop you. If you want to walk out, to tell you the truth, I do a lot of walking out of his kind of kirtans. It's mentioned in Nectar Devotion that it's an offense to be angry before the deity. So I'd rather walk out than stay in the temple and be angry. Besides, I have other things to do. I figure it's not what I get paid to do. Listen to chant around me or whatever else is going on. Yes.
Thank you, Srila. There are particular tunes that we should, that we should sing in the mornings and evenings.
There's a morning tune, which Prabhupada said we should chant throughout Mangalarti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna explicit about it. He said morning Mangalarti, strictly the morning tune. That's it. But how many, when was the last time you heard Mangalarti, only the morning tune? How many can remember the last time you heard Mangalarti, only the morning tune? Can you remember? Okay, some of you remember, maybe 5%, 6%. Not commonly done. Usually what you hear is, okay, Ravastikam, morning tune. Then after the dry things, then there's another tune. This tune was introduced in Vrindavan by a devotee named a devotee from Bangladesh. Maybe his name is Hare Krishna, I forgot. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Very beautiful tune. Not the tune Prabhupada taught us. What's the problem with it is, usually that serves as a sign. Once you hear that tune, it's the sign that the morning tune is over. You will not hear it again. And from now on, it's sort of freestyle. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, and whatever else. Because now we've paid our dues, we've chanted the morning tune, and now we can do whatever else. Prabhupada said, morning tune. Yeah, that's all. So you don't have to speculate, you don't have to look for variety. It's not that the Vaishnavas are so inattentive that they can't handle 20 minutes of one tune. They can do it. And once we start, anyway, then we'll get into it. But that's the way Prabhupada taught us and requested us to do it. Just chant the one tune. That's a beautiful tune. If you try it, just chant that for straight through. You'll see how it's relishable every time you chant it again, it gets better. You don't have to introduce something. You know, somehow we feel that if we don't do something, we're going to lose everyone. Got to do something. You don't have to do anything. Just keep chanting. Another question? Another comment? Yes.
Alright, is it an issue if someone sings the morning tune?
Is it an issue if someone?
If someone sings the morning tune at some other time.
At some other time. Well, it's the morning tune, and those who know will chant it in the morning. You can. Sometimes we hear it, other times of the day. It's probably not a capital offense. Yes.
Maharaj, I've also heard sometimes during the Kirtan towards the end, people do like Jayonanda Yashoda Andula Nirivarada Gopal. Is that?
I'm trying to remember. I think that mantra, I did some research, and it has a bona fide source. I think I did the research, and it has a bona fide source. I didn't mention it in the book, I think because I did the research later on that one, as I recall. But it's not something Prabhupada requested us to do. The main thing is Hare Krishna, Maha Mantra. And it's like, why not just chant Hare Krishna? It's a simple thing. Yes.
Could you point some recordings where, for 20 minutes of Mangalarti, this is what we need to sing? Because it's so watered down. If you say, I'll take my for example, we can't anymore.
There's a wonderful recording of Vishnu Jan Maharaj chanting. It's called the Paramount Studio recording because it was recorded in Paramount Studio in Los Angeles. And it's the morning tune. And chanted beautifully. Prabhupada said to Vishnu Jan, and I wrote to Vishnu Jan that when I heard you chanting, I felt like I was transported to Vaikuntha. Prabhupada appreciated his kirtan, and I think you also appreciate special feature of that recording is the Sangha, which is very simple and clear and beautifully complements the Kirtan and the Mridanga players properly.
Does it have Gaura cancel?
No.
Maharaj, also sometimes during the Kirtan, people won't say the entire Maha Mantra, they do Hare Krishna, then other Vaishnavas will say Hare Krishna, then they do Hare Rama. Like they break down each.
Yeah. I don't have a specific quotation about it. I have a general recollection that Prabhupada didn't like that so much. But I don't have a quote, and so I don't have an objection.
There's a GBC resolution where you can't do Hare Krishna and Hare Krishna and
Yeah, it gets to be, we have all these things that come into the kirtan. Now all the boys, now all the girls, from your heart. I call them stage directions. And sometimes we all want to ask people to chant louder and so on, but it gets to be quite tiresome. And maybe a little, I don't need somebody telling me to chant from my heart. I'll chant from my heart if I want to. If I have a heart, then I'll go for it. But, one more time, from the entertainment world. One more time. You don't need one more time. You don't need from the heart. You don't need all the boys, all the girls. If someone does it, but again, some of my favorite kirtan leaders do all these things. But if you don't, it won't be missed. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, so is it okay to sing other sampradayas, Vaishnava bhajan also, because we see many devotees joining, they would be part of the different sampradaya and then they come to
Well, other sampradayas, main thing is our sampradaya. You enroll in a certain college, you go with what that college does, not what the other college does. But there are some songs that come from other sampradayas that are appreciated. This Krishna Tadiya, it's not straight in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, King Kulashekar, but it's Kulashekar of Ramanuja Sampradaya, but we accept it, especially since Prabhupada appreciated it. So we're not like, we get down on the other sampradayas. But when we stick to what's come in our sampradaya, then we're on safe ground. Otherwise, sometimes the other sampradaya songs or mantras represent ideas or conclusions or traditions that we're not really part of and may not even understand. But then we introduce them, and now something else got introduced, and then something else, and something else. Just like this, what is it called? This helmet that we see on the altar.
Shatari.
Shatari, right?
Yes.
That was not introduced by Prabhupada. It's a very important thing in the Sri Sampradaya, where it has very specific significance, but somehow or other it's been introduced into this kind. Without any, you won't find any pictures of Prabhupada accepting it or offering it. It's not something he told us to introduce, but somehow or other, because it was introduced for the Sringadev in Manipur. They did sort of called South Indian Bob there. So then all these kind of temples copied it. Now it's like all of our Radha Krishna temples or Thai temples. It's there. But it's not a Gaudiya tradition. If you go to any Gaudiya temple, you will find this. Yes.
Maharaj, sometimes during the month of Kartik, some devotees sing Gopi Geet.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's a section in the book about that. It's not something Prabhupada asked us to do. He asked us to chant Amarashna. But in Vrindavan, they introduced Gita, Gopi Gita, and in Mayapur, they've introduced Radha Krishna Gita. Jayadvaita, and you know, sit there in Mayapur for, they can go on for 20 minutes chanting Radha something something. And it starts with the ones in the song, and then it goes to your local deities, and then it goes to the deities down the block, and it goes to your deities in your favorite temples, and you know, who knows where it goes from there. But it's all supposed to be Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You don't need to introduce other things. And this Gopi Gita was not something Prabhupada asked us to chant.
Maharaj, I also seen like sometimes people do alap, but they do Hare.
Yeah, let's find that. Thank you. Prabhupada told Vishnu Jana that he did not like melodies that had long, extended notes in them. He liked the melody to be filled with the mantra. Padri Narayan Maharaj recounts that once in 1970 in Los Angeles, when someone was singing a tune with long, extended notes from Mangal Arati, Prabhupada from his quarters, one flight up next to the temple, sent his servant down and had him stop the kirtan. And Prabhupada said, this do not stretch the mantra. Padri Narayan Maharaj says that Prabhupada compared such chanting to Islamic prayers. Prabhupada said we should focus on the mantra. He didn't want that business because A, it sounded Muslim, and B, we're not focusing on the mantra. On another occasion, in Mayapur, someone was chanting that way. Prabhupada sent someone down to stop the kirtan. But the leader, proud of his voice, started doing it again, and Prabhupada again sent someone down to stop it. Oh, this is from Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj relates an instructive incident from the life of Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur. Saraswati Thakur was at a festival in Gokroon to mark the disappearance anniversary of Srila Bhakti Thakur, who was among the respected Vaishnavas from all over Bengal, who assembled for the occasion, was a disciple of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, considered a prominent kirtan leader. He was expert in all kinds of raga, raginis, rhythms, tunes, modulations of the voice, etc. He was also a master of harmonium, esraj, bina, mridanga, tabla, and other instruments. After the celebration, he began to sing the Maha Mantra to various raga raginis as he played the harmonium. As he did this, he modulated his voice in such a way that it took him 10 or 15 minutes to sing the 16 words of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra from the first Hare to the last. In addition, he was trying to display deep spiritual emotion by gesturing excessively with his hands and arms. Sri Vinod Bihari, later Bhakti Pradhan Keshav Maharaj, was also present, and Saraswati Thakur later said to him, "Did you listen to the kirtan? One could have performed kirtan of the whole Maha Mantra 50 times during the time it took him to pronounce Hare Krishna only once." So our acharyas don't appreciate it. Again, Saraswati Thakur, we can dispel listlessness, impatience, and all other anarthas by loudly and faithfully performing kirtan of the Maha Mantra in the association of pure devotees. members of the Tal Boka Sampradaya who are simply interested in rhythm and other musical attributes are utterly entangled in profit, adoration, and distinction. Pure devotees always distance themselves from such pretenders and instead worship the holy name by full absorption in Sankirtan. Tal Toka Sampradaya means tal is a beat and toka means slapping. So those not absorbed in Krishna consciousness but busy keeping the beat belong to the Tal Toka Sampradaya. Not appreciated. Prabhupada wasn't into music. It's not the rhythm, it's not the tune, it's not the instruments. It's the sincere chanting of Hare Krishna. That's the essence of Kirtan. Where time is going a little bit, but okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, where does personal sadhana come into?
Important. That's a great question. Where does personal sadhana come in? Prabhupada said that we should chant in the process. He made a very big point of this in the discussion that I've included in the book. We should chant in the process. And Prabhupada explained that in the process means as part of the whole method of devotional service. We chant, get up early in the morning, we attend the Mangalarti, we chant 16 rounds, we hear the Bhagavatam, we follow 4 regular principles. That's the process. We come under the guidance of pure devotees, spiritual master. That's the process. So Prabhupada said that the chanting, we should come in the process. Otherwise, he said it will become nalaparad, offensive chanting. So we should come in the process. I know one quite celebrated leader of the Kirtan group, and he's, wonderful Kirtan, and then afterwards they go and have some other kind of ecstasy. So we don't need that. We need sincere devotees following the process. It's this culture that we only do Kirtan. We're totally into Kirtan. We're not into following the 4 regular principles. We're not into chanting 16 rounds or any rounds. Not into hearing the philosophy. We just come and do our set. That's not the idea. That may be all right for musical professionals, but we're not meant to be musical professionals. The idea is to become devotees. We're praying to Krishna, please engage me in your service. This is the process of service. But we should chant in the process. Very good question. Thank you. Now, I can go on, but maybe we should stop. Tell me what to do. Who's running the show? Yeah, looks like all the rest of the questions, most of the other questions are answered in the book. The book is pretty comprehensive and it's well indexed. You can find a lot of